What's happening, guys? Welcome to The Juice, the serious gambling podcast for the not so serious gambler. I am your host. I am Memphis, and we're going to jump into some week 15 action. Hard to believe, week 15, 4 games left. So still got 25% of the regular season left. Some good games this weekend, some not so good games this weekend. A lot to talk about from a betting standpoint. Really excited about that. Be sure to check out my other show, that is the Dynasty Warzone. If you're a YouTube subscriber or watcher, you can just subscribe to both channels, Dynasty Warzone and Player Profiler. And if you're listening on Saturday, you can listen to the podcast, and you can subscribe to both the Dynasty Warzone podcast channel and the Player Profiler podcast channel, and you'll never, ever miss a show. So I am ready. I want to talk about Circa. I want to talk about props. I want to talk about my pick'ems. But before we do, we're going to take just a second and hear a word from the folks at Bet Openly.
Hey, so many ask me, what's wrong with sports books? Why so many of them fail? The answer is simple. They don't innovate. They're just casino sports books on a phone. That's all they've been. There are a few that are doing a good job. We partner with them. Most of them, not so much. Until Bet Openly came along. Bet Openly said, hey, we're going to innovate. We're going to do something groundbreaking. We're going to have peer-to-peer betting in all states, and you pay 1%. When you win, you pay just 1% on your winnings. You heard that right. It's 1%. With code Underworld, you qualify for just that 1% transaction fee on Bet Openly. It gives you ultimate flexibility to set your own lines and browse lines that others have set. Think about it. That's what betting should be, and now that is the reality. BetOpenly.com. The code is Underworld. Check it out.
Yeah, and it's a different way of betting amongst fellow bettors as opposed to betting with a sports book. Check out Bet Openly, a good sponsor of the show. And then also check out the Game Plan. The Game Plan is another podcast found right here on the Player Profiler platforms, whether that's YouTube or the podcast channel. It's hosted by my boy, Matty Kiwoom. Love Matty Kiwoom. Really fun guy. Good with Dynasty, good with business, just sharp guy. If you're looking for some extra content to listen to this weekend, maybe you got to go do some Christmas shopping or wrap some of that up, check out my boy, Matty. Check out the Game Plan on the Player Profiler Network. All right, let's talk Survivor for a minute. I've been eliminated since I think week 7. But here it is, double that, through week 14. And the Circa Survivor has went from over 9,000 entrants for just over $9 million. And now they're down to 13. Last week, as crazy as that Dolphins game was, that cost 8 people their entry in the Survivor contest, which is just gut-wrenching. I mean, think about it. You're less than 3 minutes to go. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's like never had one in 767 tries or something like that. And Will the Thrill Levis came in there in the last 2 minutes. They went for the 2-point conversion and got it. The Tennessee Titans were able to beat the Miami Dolphins. That hurt a bunch of people. The Packers hurt a bunch of people. And the Steelers losing to the Patriots last week hurt a lot of people. So they are down to 13. And they were working on a chop. And for those of you that maybe haven't been gambling a lot, or maybe you've never played in a big tournament like a poker tournament, or like in this case a football betting tournament, the entrants have gotten together and they're talking. And from what I've read, they're going to take a $400,000 payout each, and they're going to play for $4 million. I think that's great. That's perfect. I mean, you're locking it up. These guys and ladies, they invested $1,000. So everybody's going to get 400,000, and they're going to play these last 4 weeks for $4 million. But if it does come down to where more than one person wins, they'll split the remaining $4 million. But it's really cool. I'm fired up. This is something I'll be in next year. I think I'm going to partner with a buddy of mine, and we're going to run Circa Survivor in 2024. But yeah, that's it. Didn't want to get too crazy into Survivor. Really don't have any Survivor picks this week. If you're looking for one, I would have to say if you have San Francisco, that would be one I would be looking at. But it's getting tougher and tougher. So that's our Survivor segment. Let's jump into last week's pick'ems against the spread. I'm in a contest at pregame.com where I'm picking 5 games against the spread every week. It's designed to mirror the Circa Millions or the Super Contest out at the Westgate. You have to pick 5 games against the spread. On the season, I am, after last week, I am 31, 34, and 5. So 3 games below 500, but last week was a good week with 3, 1, and 1. And I'll recap those for you before I jump into this coming week's pick'ems. So last week I had the Colts +2. I had been riding the Colts. The Colts had done well for me 3 weeks in a row. They got absolutely whooped in Cincinnati. And it looked like it was going to be okay. They got down 14. They then scored 14. And then they didn't score again the rest of the game. Absolutely got punished. Jacksonville and the Browns, I had the Brownies -3. Got kind of lucky. I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Tennessee and Circa that the Titans had went for 2 and they got it, which helped them win. The Jags went for 2, and this caused me to not get a second tie. So -3, that was a win. The Browns won by 4. This was my tie. The Vikings -3. What an ugly game. Just an absolutely ugly game. 3-0. For those of you that listen to the Dynasty Warzone or follow me on Twitter at DWZ Memphis X, whatever the hell. You guys know I coach youth baseball. 3-0 is a baseball score, but 3-0 was the score of the Vikings and the Raiders. So that was the push. Had the Bills plus 1.5. Of course, they won outright. And my final game last week was Broncos +3. They won the game outright. So went 3, 1, and 1 on the week. Felt really good about that. And I feel kind of good about this week's picks. I didn't love this week's card. I'm going to pull up my card right now. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see along. A lot of whole numbers. So I'm, putting myself in position to get ties or a lot of ties, but totally okay with that. First game, it's a Saturday game. That's tomorrow or maybe today as you're listening to this on podcast. I've got the Bengals -3. And part of this is I've been really impressed with Jake Browning and his command of the offense. And Indy's defense is not very good, but they put up 34 points last week. And then you go back 2 weeks ago, they put up 30-plus points on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Those are 2 playoff teams. You hear this term a lot. If the league year ended today, these teams would be playoff teams. And if the league year ended today, both the Colts and the Jags would be playoff teams. And this Jake Browning-led Bengals team, A, they're in the hunt themselves. And B, they put up 30-plus points 2 games in a row. And I think the Vikings defense is much more in line with that Indy defense, although I do like their defensive coordinator, Brian Flores. I'm going to take the Bengals -3 at home. They're back in the playoff hunt. They're feeling themselves. So I'm pretty excited for the Bengals. I think this number is a little short. I think it should be in the neighborhood of closer to a touchdown. I mean, the Vikings are going with Nick Mullen. So I really, really like this number. Giants going to New Orleans. Tommy DeVito. I cannot get enough of the memes, the Sopranos related content as it relates to Tommy DeVito. Fun fact, I'm sure you've heard this. Maybe you haven't. I don't know. The movie Goodfellas, one of my favorite movies of all time, maybe my absolute favorite. It's in my top 3. And the character played by Joe Pesci, his name in the movie was Tommy DeVito. His agent come out, looked like he was trying to frame Roger Rabbit. Just a tremendous story. But with the football, I like the fact that this kid runs. And in our patron group, we do a fantasy football, Dynasty fantasy football patron group. And one of our patrons asked, is Tommy DeVito and Geno Smith and one other quarterback. And I'm like, of those guys and those matchups, I think I'm taking Tommy DeVito. He opens up a lot with his legs, ran for 70 yards the other day. And I think that's something they'll build on. And I think the Giants probably win this game outright. Derek Carr will be quarterbacking. Giants defense has been pretty good. No Mike Thomas. I don't know where, outside of Alvin Kamara, I don't know where the Saints will score points. I've had some bad memories backing the Saints, so I'm going to fade them here. I'm going to take Tommy DeVito, a fellow Paisan, and we're going to go +6 with the New York Giants. Going back to the Brownies -3 at home against the Bears. This number has fluctuated. I'm very happy to get it at 3. Probably wouldn't have taken it 3.5. Joe Flacco's played fine. And I know Joe Flacco's a statuesque pocket quarterback, doesn't move like he used to, but that's okay against the Bears because the Bears' rush defense has been extremely tough against the run. They are in the top 5 in total rush yards allowed to the running back position on the year. Obviously, no Nick Chubb with Cleveland. He's been out for a long time. Jerome Ford's been okay. Kareem Hunt's been okay. But the one thing that you can do on the Bears is you can pass on them. And the one thing that you can't do as a running quarterback is rush a bunch against the Browns defense. I do have some concerns about all the injuries the Browns have suffered, especially on the offensive line and the defense in total. But I think a team that's in the playoffs fighting for a playoff spot at home, I don't know that I would have touched this in Chicago, but I'm going to take the Brownies -3. Rams -6.5. The Commandos are no good. I would also go with the over on this game if you're looking for like another piece of action. I think this is going to be high scoring. The Rams offense has been really good as of late. Goes into the Baltimore Ravens, one of the better defenses in the league, and hung a 30-burger on them after going to Cleveland the week before and putting a 30-burger on them. This offense is clicking. Cooper Kupp is looking healthier. The last 2 weeks, he's looked a lot more Cooper Kupp-ish. This one's at home. They are getting the Rams off of a bye. Excuse me, they're getting the Commanders off of a bye. They're going to have no Brian Robinson. So I think Sam Howell's going to take to the air. I think this is going to be a shootout and a fun game. But ultimately, I think the Rams get it done probably on a Sam Howell mistake. But I do like this one. And final game of the week in my pick'em card, Eagles -3 on the road at Seattle. Could be Geno Smith this week, might be Drew Lock this week. I don't think it matters. Even though Philadelphia lost to Dallas last week, they're still in control of their own destiny. If they win out, they'll win the NFC East. And if they win out and the Niners stumble at all, they can get the number 1 seed back. I think the lack of repetitive and solid quarterback play, along with just injuries. The injury to Kenneth Walker, he's a little bit healthier. I've got a prop on him later in the show, but it's just not been the same. And I don't want to say it's time for Pete Carroll to go because he's been a good coach, but we'll see what happens. But I'm going to take the Eagles on the road, laying the 3 to get back to some more solid football. So I'm going to repeat my card, and then we're going to jump into the pick'ems. So Bengals -3, Giants +6, Browns -3, the Rams -6.5, Eagles -3. So that is my pick'em card in my contest over at pregame.com. We're going to recap the pick'ems here in just 1 second, but let's hear a word in case you're looking for a place to do some pick'ems with Underdog.
It has been 2 years since Josh Larkey paved the way for fantasy gamers to start expecting positive returns from pick'em games, specifically Underdog pick'ems. And how do you do it? Well, you look at the slate and you find a great shootout or a sneaky shootout. You also look for a shit show game. 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in one game. That's right. You can do it. You can do it. And you can 100x your payout on Underdog. Think about week 1. Jets-Bills was a shit show. Did we see the Aaron Rodgers injury coming? No, but we knew the Jets have a good defense. We knew the Bills have a good defense. Why not expect the worst? And the worst is what we got. So if you had gone Dalvin Cook less than, Garrett Wilson less than, Aaron Rodgers less than, Josh Allen less than, Gabriel Davis less than, boom, 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 you can go 6 for 6. Same thing in week 2. Oh, week 2. Oh, sneaky shootout there in Philadelphia. Minnesota's going to be in comeback mode, so we'll go Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson, more than, Madison, less than, but also Swift, more than. Boom, 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 boom. That's how you do it with the Underdog Pick'ems, and you use promo code Underworld to get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. You put in $100, Underdog matches that deposit up to $100 with promo code Underworld. Go start picking.
There you go. There is a spot to go get in on some pick'em actions. If you want to put some of my picks into play, use that promo code Underworld. So I'll jump into last week. I'll do a quick recap of last week. Went 2-3 in official picks and 3-2 in leans. Had Cade Otton. He lost. He didn't go over 2.5 receptions, but he had 5 targets, and that was a game where I felt like I was right. I was right directionally, but he didn't catch that extra football. He had 2 catches, including that nice touchdown at the end, but he did not get over 3 catches. But DJ Moore did. DJ Moore, I had him over 4.5 receptions. From a fantasy standpoint, I couldn't have been more wrong on DJ Moore with Justin Fields. DJ Moore has been great in Chicago, and he's going to continue to get fed. He didn't have a receptions prop up this week, or I might have went back to the DJ Moore well again. Jahmyr Gibbs missed by 1. He had 3 for 16 in a loss, come from behind loss. And I thought I'd get some of that garbage check down work. Didn't happen, so that was a loss. Had Bijan over 2.5. That was a win. In the 4 o'clock window, we had Josh Jacobs over 2.5 receptions. He got hurt. This is the one thing about taking overs is when you take overs, injuries automatically favor the books. And I know a lot of people like to rush to say, oh, you should refund our money because it's a popular player. You might not want to bet popular players to begin with. But Josh Jacobs, he got hurt, got 2 catches, so missed by a half. Russell Wilson over 26.5 rushing yards. He went over that for a lean. Had bad luck in the Sunday night game. Brandon Cooks over 3.5 receptions. That was the biggest loss that I had all day. He was not even remotely close. I felt like they were targeting him, but not as much as I would have thought. I was actually kind of surprised Gallup was more involved than I would have thought. Dak over 301.5. He had 271. So that was a loss, and then went 2-0 on Monday Night Football, 2 Monday night games last week. Had Barkley over 15.5 rush attempts. He went over that early in the 4th quarter. That was easy. And then that miraculous comeback from my boy Will Levis, over half a touchdown. That was a win. Let's get into this week's picks. We'll keep this week's show short. A lot going on. We're all out holiday shopping and getting ready for parties. I actually just got back from a work Christmas party, so I'll blast through these. So same thing I normally do. I picked 14 props this week, guys. Give you something to chew on. I'll let you know my favorites along the way, but I went game by game trying to find a prop that I liked in every game and then a lean that I liked in every game, and here they are. 1 o'clock today, if you're listening on podcast, Vikings going to the Bengals. I mentioned this earlier. I mentioned that I think the Bengals are going to be able to score and put up points. That's going to put the Vikings in come from behind mode. And Cincinnati is one of the worst teams against the tight end. TJ Hawkinson, over 52.5 receiving yards. The Justin Jefferson playing news is good for this. He's no longer the focal point of the defense. His receptions prop was 5.5. That felt about 1 too many. But I do think he gets this yardage, 52.5 yards for TJ Hawkinson. That's my Saturday 1 p.m. bet. My 1 p.m. lean is Joe Mixon over 3.5 catches. This has been a screen check down offense, but that's okay. I think that's why Jake Browning is flourishing in this offense. Is it's short, quick, get the ball out, and when it's short, quick to get the ball out, it's a lot of Joe Mixon, and Joe Mixon has done well. If you played him in fantasy, you know what I'm talking about. So Joe Mixon, my 1 p.m. lean. Saturday, 4:30 here in Indianapolis. Fun story about that game. I was supposed to have been going to that game, but we decided to do Christmas a week early with my in-laws, and going to be watching here from the comfort of my own home. But this game, I did not like the props at all. I looked at a Zach Moss receiving prop. I looked at a Gardner Minshew rush prop. Ultimately, I was like, the safest thing in this game, because, I want to win, but the safest thing in this game is Mitch Trubisky interceptions thrown over half. And it's even, and it's, I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong button on the screen. It's over, and it's minus 145. So they're saying Mitch Trubisky is going to throw an interception. I'll lay a little bit of extra juice. Don't care. I'm taking Mitch Trubisky for 1+ reception. And then I also took Mitch Trubisky for over half a touchdown thrown. And that's just Indy's defense has been bad. A lot of people have passed on him. I think this game could be a sneaky shootout. We saw the New England Patriots able to put up some points on these Steelers, and so did Minnesota and Arizona. And Indy's offense has been pretty solid. I think Shane Steichen's done a great job with the offense. So I got 2 Mitch Trubisky props, Mitch over 1 interception, Mitch over 1 touchdown. We're going to go up. There we go. I was like, where are my Saturday night props? And my first one on Saturday night is, and my slides are out of order for those of you watching on YouTube, is David Montgomery under 15.5 rushing attempts. And then I looked at that, and that's a number he's not hit since the middle of October. I think he went over 8. I think he hit that one time since the middle of October, and I think he had 18. And while I do think that Detroit's going to win this game, I don't know that they're going to run away with this game. And you got Jahmyr Gibbs as well. Jahmyr Gibbs has a rushing prop of 10.5. So do you see these guys combining for 26 rush attempts? I don't think I do. I think this is going to be a little bit more of Jared Goff, a little bit easier to move the ball via the air against Denver, at least the way Denver's been playing. So I'm going to take David Montgomery under 15.5 rush attempts. And then in the same game, my lean, I'm going to lean Russell Wilson over 26.5 rushing yards. We just saw what the Justin Fields did to the I'm losing my train of thought here. I'm trying to fix the board. Justin Fields just ran all over Detroit. And although Russell Wilson is not the spryest guy anymore, he's not prime Russell Wilson, he can still scoot a little bit. So I don't necessarily mind taking the over here. 26.5. It was the same last week, and it's a better matchup. So that's my Sunday game. Saturday games. Sunday, 1 p.m., my first prop is Chig Okonkwo of the Tennessee Titans. He is going over 31.5 receiving yards. Great matchup against the Texans. So I'm going to take that at my 1 p.m. window bet. 1 p.m. lean, I'm going to go Justin Fields under 58.5 rushing yards against Cleveland. I mentioned this earlier. Cleveland's been pretty good against the running quarterback. I am nervous about the injuries on defense, so I'm going to hold this to a lean. My 4 p.m. game, my play is going to be Josh Allen over 35.5 rushing yards. Josh Allen's been running and running and running. I mean, ever since the Bills have been playing for their playoff lives, they've been pushing the ball to Josh Allen via the run game a bunch. And this is going to be a good game. Should be a fairly high scoring game. Definite rain is what the forecast calls for. So I think you're going to see a lot of Josh Allen in this game, and I think this is a pretty good one. My lean in the 4 o'clock window is going to be Tony Pollard over 3.5 receptions. Buffalo's been very generous to catches to the running back position. Makes that a easy lean for me. We're going to go Sunday night football, a game that I wish the weather was good for. If you're into looking at weather forecasts for football, whether that be for betting or dynasty or fantasy or whatever, this one's got a 35-40% chance of rain and some wind in the teens. Usually they say it takes wind into the 20s to be able to impact the throwing, consistent wind in the 20s. But I like to see this one straight up and like in a dome. But we're not going to get that. But they have Trevor Lawrence. They have a prop on BetMGM Grand. Over or under 3.5 rush attempts. I don't know how he's going to rush. I mean, maybe one. But I just don't think he's going to run a bunch. He's still favoring that ankle. The one thing that could get me is if the Jags win outright and he goes into the victory formation. Those do count as rush attempts, but I think Baltimore wins this game, and I think Trevor Lawrence does not get over 3.5 rushing attempts. And then my lean in this game is Isaiah Likely. And with Isaiah Likely, it's over 31.5 receiving yards. I don't know how we keep getting this number. You think eventually the books would wise up and be like, hey, he's going to be used by Lamar Jackson. Add in the wind, add in the weather. He'll work a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. So that's the lean for me at Sunday, 8 p.m. And then final game, Monday Night Football, Battle of the Birds, Eagles and Seahawks. I'm going to take Kenneth Walker over 47.5 rushing yards. We've seen Kenneth Walker rushing props where that 4 and 7 were inverted, and it was 74.5 rushing yards. I think we're getting some value. He's coming off of that oblique injury, but he played last week. And Seattle's battling for their playoff lives. I think both these teams will be highly motivated. I think the Seahawks will come out and try to establish the run. And then I'm also going to go with his teammate. These two bets don't necessarily correlate, but I think DK Metcalf is going to want to be involved. So I'm going to take DK over 59.5 receiving yards. The secondary for the Eagles has been a mess, just an absolute mess. And I think DK is more than capable of getting behind Bradbury or getting behind Slay, getting that big play. And I double that if Geno Smith is healthy enough and does go. So there you go. 7 games. I told my wife, we're doing the in-law Christmas thing, but I'm going to be as worthless on Saturday as I normally am on Sunday. I'm going to sit around. I'm going to watch a bunch of football. I'm going to eat Christmas dinner / early Christmas dinner. I'm going to open some gifts, and I'm going to relax. And I hope you all are doing the same. I hope you're all getting ready for the holidays. We say it in the intro of the show, be careful with your betting. This is a recreational thing. Christmas presents are coming up, friends and family. Make sure you're keeping it recreational. Make sure you're keeping it fun and betting with your head, not over it, as the intro says. So until next time, I thank you guys so much for the support. We're going to rock through the rest of the regular season. I don't know how I'm handling that final week. You may have to follow me on Twitter. I may send it in via my phone. I don't know how we're going to do it. I may work with my buddy Kevin, who produces the Dynasty Warzone for me, so I can get you guys a show. But I'll be out of the studio and on vacation with the family starting Christmas Day. We'll figure it out. But until next time, I appreciate everybody here. I appreciate everybody's support. And check out our sponsors, man. Check out Underdog. Check out Bet Openly. They're really good for us, and they'll be really good to you. Those promo codes are Underworld. And until next week, good luck, and go win some money.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you, allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.